Hi, Misha here, and don't worry, this isn't going to be a black box video. Not mostly. It's about sound. As you probably can imagine, sound is important to me. Kind of my entire world. And while I would definitely not class myself as an audiophile, I have to use my speech and all that, so I need headphones and speakers and things that will work well. Not so much the best sound ever, again, because I mostly use it to listen to my speech, but durability. Headphones that will last a long time and good range. Wireless is almost a must. Wired is just really hard for me to use because you forget things I can take on and off, and so on and so forth. And it seems about once a year I'll buy some new audio equipment, although there have been times that I didn't pick anything up for a few years. I definitely have more of a buy once, cry once attitude about that stuff. The cheaper headphones and things, try wearing them all day. They'll hurt your ears. They're just not really meant for that. And I've never been a big fan personally of earbuds. Having something in my ear canal, it doesn't work well for me comfort-wise. Also, it tends to spawn a lot of earwax, and you don't want to share earbuds, so gross. So I thought I would do a video because I picked some new sound stuff up. And it actually started off as wanting a Bluetooth speaker. Believe it or not, I've never owned a Bluetooth speaker for use primarily at the cabin. So that's what I started looking. And then my wife noticed me looking. And then I ended up buying this. A set of Bose QC headphones, or I should say another set. Technically, this is my third set. But it wasn't really intentional. A little over a year ago, I actually bought a set of QC 45s on sale because the new version just came out, and so the 45s were really a good price for what they are. And when I did that, I gave my wife, keep in mind she's at work all day, so someone using all day versus someone using a couple hours in the evening, yeah. I gave her my still very good, still very working well, QC 35s, which I'd had for a few years. So fast forward till now. She saw me looking for, sound stuff, Bluetooth stuff, kind of specking it out, and she said, "Are you buying a new set of headphones?" No, not really. I was looking at speakers. Why? Are yours working? Are there something go wrong? And she said, "Oh, they're working," and then paused and said, "But they're not really working." I think what it is they tend to lose battery after a while. You can only charge a lithium-ion battery so many times. And also, with all the 4G and 5G stuff going around, I've noticed older Wi-Fi equipment and Bluetooth equipment tends to catch a lot more interference. So I read between the lines and bought this set, which is essentially the same as what I had before, although with a couple of small but kind of fun updates. Bose actually come in one of the nicer factory default cases. Let me set you down for just a second. Whoop. Zipper, and it's actually a semi-hard case, especially on the sides. And this is the almost identical case to what my QC 45s had. What always confused me, they don't call these QC 55s. They just call them QC or Quiet Comfort. That's it. So it's a little hard to determine what was what. And the case is almost identical. But no, I've always liked these. It's nice to have a case if you're going to buy expensive headphones, even on sale. I did get these on sale, about $100 off. So one benefit to pretty much just getting the same set again is I'm very familiar with the controls. On, off. And you have buttons over here. Up, down, start, stop, usual things. And then you have the mode selector here. Quiet or aware. Especially for me personally, I still need to hear the world around me. And so I like that. And they're actually very lightweight, even though they're over ear and not tiny. Even though a lot of this stuff has metal in it, and my 35s and 45s have held up well. And they are very comfortable for day weary. And of course, you have a standard USB-C, and you also have a 2.5 jack on the bottom, which is actually one feature I really like about these. Now, I did look at other headphones. I looked at the Quiet Comfort or QC Ultras, the higher end version of these, but to be honest, they're a little bigger, a little heavier, and their volume is a touch volume. And I like being able to click volumes to get precise, and they're, 60, 80 bucks more. I just didn't see a purpose. I've always been happy with these. Years ago, I tried on their predecessors. That's when I bought the QC35s. That's back when you could still go into stores. I think I bought those at Best Buy and actually try them on. I do lament that these days you pretty much just have to buy on Amazon and get them in and hope they fit, but I knew these would. But I did look at the Ultras, but no, I just don't think I needed them. And I also looked at Sennheiser, because I use a lot of their stuff for recording videos, but their headphones didn't really have what I wanted either. And again, I'm familiar with these, money, what have you. So they're essentially the same as what I had before, but like I mentioned, a couple of small little updates. For one, the battery life is slightly higher. It's listed at 24 hours on these versus 22 on my previous ones. And I thought that was pretty good. Keep in mind, I was born in the 80s where, we were happy to get a couple hours out of our Walkmans. But I noticed online people were complaining that seemed low, that they wanted 30, 40, even 60 hours. And I will admit, I think it was the Sennheisers I looked at. It lists 60 hours. I don't need that much, frankly. I charge my stuff, and these things charge so quick with the USB. I can have them charged in 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how depleted they are. I know with my previous QC45s, I never heard them get below 40%, and usually not below 60 or 70. And that's wearing them for hours. And I don't know. I think it's just a different way of doing things and charging. And with USB, you can charge so easily that 24 hours is fine by me. Because the old style headphones, yeah. These are Bluetooth 5.1, so not the newest, but at least it's new enough. The range is fine. I can get all around the house a good 100 feet, no problems. Cool with that. And they did improve the quiet mode a bit, and they actually let you adjust the EQ, which I haven't really played around with much. I just downloaded it. If you're wondering how I do apps, even though I don't have a smartphone, I actually downloaded an app emulator on my computer. So you can actually set the quiet mode and the aware mode details. So I'm kind of interested to play with that. But those are just kind of little follow-ons. There was actually one reason I was okay with updating these and letting my wife have the other ones. And that was this here cord and the microphone. Now, when I bought the QC45s before, I knew that the microphone on board wasn't the greatest. It was okay, but it was kind of meh. In fact, Bose microphones on any of their stuff aren't the greatest. But back then, I didn't need it. But I've started live streaming and other things where it became more important, and there was a big kerfuffle back in July when I tried to live stream at the cabin. I was having trouble with the QC45s. These QCs seem to have a slightly better Bluetooth microphone. Not significantly, but 5 or 10% better matters a lot when it comes to sound. However, the real important area is with this cord. This is a 2.5 to 3.5 cord. Quite a rubbery material, very flexible. And the one for my QC45 had it too, and it works really well. This is a little different though. before, when you plugged it in and plugged it into, say, my laptop jack, which is still a 3.5, it would turn these from being Bluetooth to automatically wired headphones. Really good if your battery's depleted, or yeah, if you're just wanting the direct sound. But that did not include the microphone. Now, this includes the microphone. So even if the Bluetooth mic is acting up, maybe interference or whatever, you can now plug this in and in one jack have headphones and microphone, which is especially good because my laptop just has one 3.5 jack. So even if there were separate cords, I wouldn't be able to use both. And that seemed to work out pretty well. So when you plug this in, it turns the Bluetooth off and goes just straight to wired. And I did use these for a live stream. It was about 2.5 hours, even using it before on the computer, setting things up for about an hour. So 3 hours use, the battery got down, even including using the microphone, about 80%. It's fine. And I have a couple of options. So this way my wife gets a set of headphones that's still quite new and, again, current version. In fact, a lot of reviews online say if you already have the QC45s, don't even bother updating to these QCs. And I would agree. The small improvement in battery, and as neat as the microphone cord is, and then being able to adjust the sound noise canceling, those are nice features, but not worth updating. But since we needed 2 pair anyway, in that case, why not? Why do I keep buying Bose? Well, there's actually a reason for it. And it's not because of demos in stores. In fact, believe it or not, I didn't even realize there were physical Bose stores until very, very recently. Although, as I said, I did buy some at Best Buy for a few years. No, it actually goes all the way back to probably the late 80s, early 90s, back with their speakers. My father was losing his hearing, but didn't want to admit it. And so for Christmas one year, we bought him a set of speakers. And we wanted something that would look decent in the living room, that was relatively small, but clear enough. And we thought we could, run wires and put them by his chair so he could hear better. And those speakers were Bose. I don't exactly remember why we bought those. Probably just it felt right, and, they were a relatively well-respected brand, but he didn't need extra bass, just more clear sound. And he was always appreciative of gifts. Don't take it wrong, but he's also one that sometimes left a lot of gifts, especially technology, especially when he's trying to deny that he's losing his hearing, in the closet. Well, they literally sat in the closet for years and just doing nothing. And eventually I got a new receiver. I think it might have been a Marshall, and a new fancy disc changer, 5 or 6 CD disc changer. And I needed speakers for the receiver, and I did buy a couple of Sonys that were kind of the big ones that sit on the floor. But then I thought, well, those Bose are just sitting in there. Hey, are you not ever going to use these? I will. So I remember cutting the cords. That's basically when you had to get, cable and cut it to length, strip the ends, and then clamp them in, do all that stuff. And I used the Bose, and so I had the 2 bigger Sonys for more, bass and room filling, and I used the smaller Bose, and they were still quite large, but they were more for the, piano and higher things. And sometimes I would just use those by themselves, especially when I was at home. And those things lasted forever and sounded so good and clear. So when it came time for headphones, I just kind of always went with Bose because I felt like the sound was clear, which is more important to me than bass. And I like the durability, the dependability. And with newer stuff like this, they're keeping, at least with their medium end stuff, still physical buttons. And they don't have a lot of extra doodads and whatsits and widgets. Even their Bose app, which some don't like, but I actually do because it's pretty simple. I just feel like they're kind of stripped down and they're just there to make sound. So, yeah, first thing I bought was a little unintentional. But now my wife has a pair and I have a pair. And hopefully these will last a few years like the last ones. But my second purchase was an intentional impulse buy because I was just curious. It was also a lot cheaper. While looking around, and I've always kind of been curious about these, the so-called bone conduction or open ear style headphones. I was just curious if I would like them or not. Like I said, I didn't really care for earbuds. On the other hand, sometimes even with the Bose, even though they're quite comfortable on the ear and they don't really ever hurt my ears, sometimes after being in headphones all day, my ears do feel kind of clammy, stuffy, meh, trapped in there. Sometimes I just want to have my ears free and hear the world around. I also have something a little bit lighter, smaller, and frankly cheaper to take places that might be a little dangerous, lost, stolen, damaged. Because the Bose are nice, but they don't really have any water resistance. They're like IPX4 or something like that. Well, this pair here was on Amazon. Just recently was released in July. And did have quite a high water rating. I think it was IP68, 6 for dust, 8 for water. And was pretty affordable, around $60. And of course, it's from a company no one's ever heard of because it's all out of China. I think it's supposed to be FACO, but it could be FICO, but I like FACO, FEICO, which is First Engineering International Corporation Company, whatever. They're based out of Thailand, but they're partnered with China, and I'm sure these headphones have been used before in other brand names. That's how the Chinese stuff kind of is. But yeah, other brands have higher, more expensive open ears, but I wanted to try these out. For what it's worth, the model on these is called 9000S Pro. Sure, whatever. And they do have a built-in microphone too. I have not tried it out yet. Watch it be better than the Bose just to kind of spite me, but yeah, I didn't really buy them for that purpose. We'll see though. I will try it out someday. So that's what we got. So right off the bat, the packaging is fine. You get a little simple drawstring bag with a little set of earplugs in there. And you get a pretty interesting charging cable. I've never actually used one of these before. That is magnetic. But of course it's USB on the other end. And then here these are themselves. So the price wasn't horrible. The battery life is listed at 10 hours. These are actually Bluetooth 5.3 for whatever that's worth to you. Like I said, they have a pretty good water rating. I am tempted to try them in the shower, I'm not going to lie. They're extremely lightweight. They do have touch controls. 3 buttons, but actually you can end up doing quite a bit with these. They're pretty intuitively done. Volume up, volume down, but I can also be track forward or back. You can even skip forward or back or go to the next track. And the power button also cycles between Bluetooth mode and kind of onboard mode because this has 32 gigs of memory. You can put audiobooks and MP3s on for sure. I want to try downloaded YouTube videos. I have not done that yet. One thing I was a little not sure about, how do you get stuff on here? Are you going to have to download an app to your phone? Is it only like Bluetooth transmission? Well, thankfully, no. This magnetic cable, in addition to charging it, when it's connected and you have them on, then they just look like a regular USB thumb drive or SD card in your computer. So you can just add, remove files to your heart's content, and it transfers quite quickly. I do have a little bit of concern about this not being a universal, USB-C connection. Hopefully other headphones use this too, so if it breaks or gets lost or the cats chew it, I have other options. That's my only reservation, but I do have to admit the magnetic thing is pretty cool. And it seems to hold quite well because there's a little indent there. It's pretty secure. You're not going to accidentally knock it off. But with that, how do these wear? Alright, a friend was here, so I thought he could help. He asked if they were weird to wear. Kinda, but not uncomfortable. I've been messing around with them for about a week now when I do this, and they actually do fit, even with my glasses on, which is not usual. And you can kind of move this up or down, and sometimes I'll put them higher up, but they kind of naturally fall where they want to. And I've packed boxes and, you know, even been inside. I've got a really big box in there that I keep packing materials in, and I've dove inside to grab stuff, and they've never even remotely come off. And one thing that I've noticed with traditional headphones, sometimes my top of my head will go against something and they'll get pushed off. And since the band is in the back on these, it doesn't really happen. One thing I knew when I bought these, that they weren't really adjustable, and I kind of wish they were. On the other hand, since this doesn't hit the back of your neck, you don't really notice it's there. And again, you can tilt it down, and they still work. They don't have to be on your ear, even all that close to it. And the controls are pretty intuitive. And downloading stuff to them if you want. But no, it's kind of a little experiment. It's been interesting. Kind of like them. Certainly lightweight. And battery life seems to be pretty good on them. About half a day. Yeah. And they mostly metal. Springy. Alright. We'll get back to just me. Interesting. It takes a little time. I've had a few friends try them out. I will say it does kind of make me feel like I'm in the Star Trek Next Generation episode, The Game. Only it's your ears instead of your eyeballs. So, the game for blind people. Interesting little thing. I think it might make a nice backup, lightweight headset for the Bose. And I'm interested to see how well they last, the durability. Because again, Chinese knockoff brand. But I wanted to make sure I like this style before committing, $150 to $250 on a name brand. And sometimes you never know. The knockoffs work almost just as well. But I didn't really set out to buy either of these. Although it was maybe in the back of my mind to buy a new set of cheaper headphones compared with the Bose, so that way if I travel, I could travel with a little bit cheaper. So these were a little bit intentional. But no, I set off to buy a Bluetooth speaker. So for the Bluetooth speaker, even though I have had a good background with Bose, has mostly been headphones, and like my contractor over at Tree Haven recommended JBL, which I notice he uses quite a bit while working. And Fox, in the past, has done DJ work and everything. So, looked at Sony's, some other things, and really had to just consider my wants, my needs, and time. And my decision was pretty obvious, and I hope it will work out. In the end, I just stuck with Bose. In fact, they had just released a new Bluetooth speaker this summer. So my thought was it would be the most up-to-date. And probably be kind of fitting for what I wanted, needed, and also was just familiar with. I have to give that some consideration too, that I'm just used to how the Bluetooth Bose stuff works. But it's not going to be for everyone because my needs are rather unique to me and folks like me. Why did I pick it? The so-called SoundLink Max. That seems to be the name. And this seems to be a pretty new product. There have been other SoundLinks, but again, I've never really owned a Bluetooth speaker. Never really had a need for one till now. Cabin. And here it is. Now, the biggest attraction that everyone points out is the price, the cost. And I agree, these are expensive. But then a lot of the other alternatives that are recommended are in the same price range. So it's kind of funny that I hear folks saying, yeah, it's not worth it, but then they'll recommend a speaker that's $50 less or $50 more. Frankly, in this range, if you're there, within $100 one way or the other kind of just strikes me as the same. And one thing that did help is I had about $200 cash back on a card to use, so that helped offset it. But also kind of for my needs at the cabin. And I went back and forth. I really did look at the latest JBL, the latest Sony. Even noticed, and I wasn't aware of this, that Marshall was still around, so I looked at their kind of speakers in this range. But usually there was something this had that they didn't, or where they excelled didn't matter to me. So let's start back here. USB-C, that's fine, that's cool. And I do like that you can use this as a little power bank. That's cool. And I do like the speaker life. That's fine. 20 hours at half volume or so. 8-10 hours at high volume. Again, plenty for me. But I like that it still has a 3.5 jack. That's something that I still use quite a bit. It's just nice to have it. So I don't mind that. Has a carry handle that you can remove. It twists off very easily. Some don't like that it doesn't have a shoulder strap. I'm actually glad it doesn't. I find, for me personally, this is just me, I tend to hook shoulder straps on things. And this I won't hook, and I can pull it off if needs be. I don't really need a shoulder strap because this will be pretty much carried around at the cabin around the property. But that's also why one thing I liked about this is Bluetooth 5.4. And between that and just the speaker itself, it seemed to have better range. I know Bluetooth all should have roughly the same range, but in reality they don't. And some of the other higher end speakers just, I don't know. And I knew from the Bose headphones that the range would work out fine. And not skipping, and I don't want latency, especially with my speech talking. That kind of thing. I also just kind of like Bose design, simplistic. This is quite small because I will be carrying it back and forth, but it's also chunky, which is good, about 5 pounds, and so I'm not going to just accidentally knock it off a table. And it's got this kind of rubbery top, and it sticks on things quite well. And it is water resistant, if not totally waterproof, IP67. And while I don't plan on leaving it outside, I'm sure eventually it'll get left out on the picnic table or whatnot overnight. Things happen. Better, a drink spilled on it, whatever. So better to have it than not. So that was kind of nice, and it just feels like something that'll last. Also, I do kind of like that it's mostly just going to point out at the front and the sides. I like that it is a stereo speaker, right and left, as separate as you can really do with something this small. I really didn't want a 360 where it projects music everywhere, because I like to be respectful of other people's hearing too. And that really kind of gets me to the thing that bothers some reviewers out there about this that just really doesn't bother me. The volume. I don't like super loud. With these little headphones up here and the bone ones, I've seen people say they're too quiet. I keep it set at like 50% volume. This, it 75% is more than loud for me. And the fact that it doesn't have huge bass is fine. The range and clarity tends to matter more to me, and also not blasting music every which direction. But your mileage may vary. Also, I'm wondering if some audiophiles have just kind of ruined their ears over the years, because others will say it's plenty loud. So, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, what's hot food? What's spicy? Whatever you like. But, yeah. And, of course, something else that I like is this still has physical controls across the board. Quite a few of them here. They're rubber, they're kind of indented, but they do have clickies. And that's really good for me. They're not going to accidentally get hit because they're indented, but I'm going to know when I click them. Worked out well for me personally. And that's at 33%. And with a clip from a recent Mishaco YouTube video. Try it with that arm score stuff. That's ironic. Alright, held open. Yeah, it's that's my speech. Can you imagine why you wouldn't want to listen to that loud? Yeah. So I do like the controls. You volume up, play, pause. This can also skip forward and back, and then quieter. Then there's kind of a multimedia button that I haven't really messed around with yet, and then there's connection, and then on off.
Battery full. Battery full.
So yeah, and just hold it down a little bit longer and it turns off. And there's some connectivity stuff that I like, that it doesn't automatically jump to this when you have it on with your computer. You can, switch it over, which is nice for me with my whole speech thing. It doesn't really bother me that pairing and syncing up and all that's not as good with this as some of the other speakers out there. And again, I'm not saying if you need to run 5 or a dozen or 2 dozen speakers, that's bad. It's just, this isn't going to be in a party house. It's going to be one speaker at the cabin that I'll carry around a little bit and put outside on the porch. It does not have a built-in microphone. Kind of wish it did, but it's not a big deal. The headphones do, and other devices, and worst case my laptop does. So yeah, and that's kind of where we're at. Is it's got a lot of the stuff I do like. It has hopefully good durability. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. This is my first Bluetooth speaker. I really can't say much. So far I don't regret what I picked up, because all the others had some things that I didn't exactly hate, I could have lived with, but were somewhat detractions for me. And the detractions for this one just weren't that big of a deal, like the volume. But everyone's mileage definitely varies. Now, I said this did not come with a strap, and that doesn't bother me. It does kind of bug me it doesn't come with a case. The Bose headphones do, so I had to remedy that. Yep, I got a semi-hard case for it, including having an extra spot here for the charger. I do like that it comes with a wall charger, and the USB-C cord it has is actually quite long. Longer than most anyway. And I got this in kind of green to do the cabin / gun shooting videos thing. Seemed good. It does have a handle, and it does have a removable shoulder strap. Not sure how much I'll use that, frankly. Just depends. But at least it's protected. I know it's supposed to be a pretty tough speaker, but This was actually cheaper to get this case than the carry handle, or shoulder strap, I should say. So that's what I did. Again, I had some money to spend on a card, so hopefully it'll be a buy once, cry once thing. If I do have issues with it breaking, then I'm going to be much displeased, because if you buy something like this, it should definitely last. But I'm hoping, since this is a new product with the latest Bluetooth, it'll stay relevant longer, because some of the other ones are still Bluetooth 4.2. And I definitely know from personal experience over 5.1 has better range. And that's very important to me. And also the battery life seems to be better with the 5-point Bluetooth. So it's kind of what I've picked up. Take out to the cabin, see how they all work. So my 3 new sound products. Again, I don't really buy a lot when it comes to electronics. I try to get a new computer every few years, but that's usually a work expense. And these do have to be things that work and work well for me. And I do need backups. Wasn't really intending on buying a new set of Bose headphones. My other ones were working fine, but now I have slightly better ones, and my wife has ones that'll be just as good for her. And my backups are a little bit of an experiment. Maybe I'll end up hating them. Maybe I'll end up loving them. But some newer stuff, you just don't know till you try. And these were cheap enough that I could experiment with them and not risk a whole lot. But so far, I like them. The Bluetooth speaker, the thing that I actually set out to pick up, and this was actually kind of budgeted in the cabin furniture allowance and all that, so I'd have something out there, is the most recent one I picked up. And since I haven't been out to the cabin since getting it, it's probably the one I've used the least. I hate to use it around the house when people are here, just because, my speech is annoying to people, and I get that. But I think out there, where it's just me especially, or if I have friends or family visiting, we can listen to things on it. I do like my case. OD military green. Yeah. But I'll have to report back on how well that works out. So far, so good, though. And the connectivity seems to work well for me. A little bit of a different kind of video than I usually do, but yeah. Sound is important. I'm definitely going to try these out in the shower. And this should be able to take getting wet, but not these. So what do you think, guys? The buy once, cry once policy works well for me. Sunglasses and everything. And I will go for years. I mean, my previous sunglasses I used for 10 years. The ones I'm on now I've used for over a year, and I barely feel like they're broken in. I'd just rather do that. And since this is the latest Bluetooth, this should stay relevant. And this version of the QCs just came out about 10 months ago, 11 months ago. So they should stay pretty good. Although they do have the oldest Bluetooth rating, but that's okay. Over 5, again, the connectivity seems fine with me. And yeah, these FACO or FICOs are a bit of a wild card, but we'll find out. Alright guys, appreciate you hanging out, talking sound and stuff with me. I've always thought it was kind of funny. You'll see all these videos with sound test. I don't know how well that really does, because you're listening to it on your own headphones or your own speakers. I get it's kind of a base level, but it's also going to be limited by the transmission. So yeah, things in person always sound much, much different. But ever since I kind of janked those Bose speakers that weren't being used in my dad's closet in the late 80s, early 90s, whenever that was, I've had pretty good luck out of them. Not the only thing I use. I've also used quite a bit of Sony stuff over the years, and so had pretty good luck with that too. So I'm not 100% brand loyal, but for me, not being able to see, if I'm familiar with how something works, their controls, their kind of little quirks, which every single thing has, once I get familiar with the brand's eccentricities, it's just easier for me to stick with it most of the time. But not always. Again, I'm willing to change and try new things some of the time. But I also just kind of know what I like. So how about yourself? Let me know your headphones and Bluetooth speakers that you use. This is Misha. Catch you very soon next time.